Today I'm going to make a video showing how to adjust a Powermatic Model 180 18-inch planer. I recently went through this planer and I set new bearings in it. I pressed new bearings on the cutter head, and I had to disassemble the machine, take the cutter head out, press the bearings on, and of course I had to take the blades out. So the machine's all back together, the new bearings are in it, and I just set the knives and I sharpened them with the knife sharpener. So now it's time to go through and adjust all the settings. Every time I sharpen these knives, I have to go through and adjust the settings on it because it changes just a little bit. So I'm going to show, that's what this video is about. I'm going to show the different adjustments that you can make on this machine to get stock running through there real nice. So I'll take you over to the bench. I have an illustration here just to kind of show you. There's an infeed roller. The stock goes through this way. Infeed roller, chip breaker, cutter head, pressure bar, and then the outfeed roller. And then there's a couple of idle rollers on the bottom, or table rollers they call them. And then I have the settings over here. So I'll take you through step by step and show you how to adjust those. If they're not adjusted right, you can have some problems with stock getting stuck in there or having excessive snipe, not cutting right. So once this machine is all adjusted, it really cuts nice. It's a really nice planer. So I'll show you here. This is the segmented infeed roller. Some of them are solid. This one happens to be segmented. And then here's a segmented chip breaker. The cutter head with the knives in it. And then the pressure bar, which is a casting that extends down right down here. And then the outfeed roller. And also, actually the first thing I'm going to adjust is this table. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'll stop the camera and get set up, okay? Okay, the first thing I'm going to adjust is the table. I want the table to be parallel to the cutter head and the knives. And I haven't checked this for a while, but since I replaced the bearings and there's new knives in there and I sharpened them, I wanted to check to see. And it wasn't off very much. It was about 0.003 that it was off from side to side. So that's really not that much, but I wanted to go ahead and adjust that anyway. And I ended up adjusting it the wrong way. So now it's like 6 or 7 thousandths off. So I'll go through and show you how to do that. I have a dial indicator, and I just have it mounted to a little machinist vise. And I'll hopefully get some light in here to show you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just measure the very bottom of the tip of the blade from side to side. Now the blade doesn't necessarily have to be right at the bottom of the arc, as long as the cutter head doesn't move when I take those measurements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the blade where it looks like it's at the bottom of the arc, and then I'm just going to put a little wedge in that pulley there against the indexing housing, the plunger here, just so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to take readings from side to side. So I'll get set up and get some light in here, and I'll start the camera, okay? Okay, I have the dial indicator set up on the right side, and the cutter head is fixed with that little wedge, and the blade is near the bottom of the arc, but it's probably not exactly the bottom, but that's okay. As long as that cutter head doesn't move as I take readings from side to side, it'll be okay. Now, I adjusted it again and I went the wrong way again, so it's off even more than it was before. I think it was off 6 thou before, now it's like 10. So I'm going to try to get it right this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag first I'm going to raise the bed a little bit until I engage this plunger. And then I'm going to drag the plunger across the bottom of that knife, and we're going to see what the gauge bottoms out at. Looks like about 78. Okay, 78, 79. Right around there. So I'm gonna slowly move this to the other side. So let's say that was 78. And now I'm going to drag it across the bottom of the knife on this side, and we'll see what it is. See, that's 68. Okay. So this side needs to come up. If I put that at 78, if this side came up, then it would touch there. So I need to either bring this motor side up 10 thou or this side down 10. So I'll stop the camera and get set up to do that, okay? Okay, I'm going to explain how to adjust this bed. I'm going to take the camera under here and show you. This entire table is resting on 2 Acme gears. That's how you raise and lower it. It's the same on the other side. So right here, there's a set screw in there. If you can see this collar down here, that collar is probably flanged. It probably goes up into this casting, and there's a set screw right here. And then there are some holes. I think there's 4 of them total in this collar that you could stick a bar or something in and adjust it. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is break that. Loosen the set screw, and then I could put this Allen wrench in here and adjust this collar up or down. But before I do that, I want to set the indicator. I have the indicator set out here just because it's easier, and I'm going to raise the bed. Now I'm just going to measure some arbitrary point on the right side of this, and I'm going to raise the table up until that engages. There we go. And I'm gonna, let me see, I have to drop this side, okay? So, and I have to drop it 10, so I'll just set this to 10 right here. So that needle is gonna move backward, and once it hits 0, that's my adjustment. So what I'm gonna do is go under here. I'm going to break that set screw loose. And I'm going to put this Allen wrench in. There's another hole on the other side, because I don't think I can do it from this side. Okay. And I'm going to move this. I'm going to start moving this until this needle drops. So I'm going to set the camera right here. And when that needle, then I'm going to start moving it. Okay, there it goes. I'm going to slowly move it until that gets to 0. And it's dropping the table. Right there. Now I'm going to go in here and just tighten that set screw. And I'm looking at the needle just to make sure it's not moving. Okay, so that set screw is tight. So the needle moved just a touch, but it's pretty close. So I'll stop the camera and then we'll take our readings again from side to side. Okay, I have the indicator set back up. I'm going to take a measurement on this right side. I'm going to drag the plunger toward me so it hits the knife, and we're going to see what it reads. Right there, starting to drop. 52. Okay, I'll slowly drag this over. And then we're going to do it on this side. Just under 53. So that's it. It's within 1 thou from side to side. So that's how you adjust this bed. I'm just going to go down there one more time and make sure that both of those are tight. And now the bed is parallel to the cutter head and the knives, okay? Okay, now that the table or the bed is parallel to the cutter head and the knives, it's time to go ahead and make the adjustments. Now there are 4 things I'm going to adjust: the infeed roller, chip breaker, pressure bar, and the outfeed roller. Now on my machine, I happen to have segmented infeed roller and segmented chip breakers. Some other machines have solid. So I usually do it in order. I do the infeed roller first, then the chip breakers, then I move on to the pressure bar and the outfeed roller. And the reason I do it in that order, at least for the infeed roller and the chip breakers, is that the chip breaker actually rests on that infeed roller. So you want to adjust the infeed roller first. So I'll take you over to the manual here. So there are 4 things I'm going to adjust, starting with the infeed roller, chip breaker, outfeed roller, and pressure bar. Now the infeed roller, the infeed, outfeed roller, and the chip breaker are all going to be set slightly below the knife, the very bottom arc of the knife. The only thing that's going to be set just slightly above is the pressure bar, which is going to be about 1 thou above the knife. So the infeed roller, really everything has give to it except that pressure bar. The infeed roller is mounted on springs. See that it's mounted on springs. And the chip breaker, these individual, these sectionalized ones, they're also mounted on springs, and it could also be lifted too. So that's got give to it. And then the outfeed roller has give to it. The only thing that doesn't is the pressure bar, and that's probably the most critical one. I've read articles where if something's going on with the machine, it's not cutting right, usually it's the pressure bar that's not set right. And the pressure bar's job is as the plank comes through here, as it passes through the cutter head, and before it gets to the outfeed roller, the pressure bar holds it down until that outfeed roller can pinch it and pull it through and hold it down to the table. So if this is set too high, you're going to get like a washboard effect on the plank. And if it's set too low, the plank will just stop. It'll hit it and just stop. So you want to set the bottom of that just slightly above, like 1/1000th above the cutter head, or the knife at the lowest arc. So we'll talk about the amount of adjustment. The infeed roller on my machine with the sectional infeed roller, it's going to be set 1/16th below the knife. On a solid one, it would be 1/32. It says right here on the solid types, 1/32. Then the chip breaker, that's also going to be set 1/32 below the knife. Outfeed roller, same thing. And again, that has a little bit of that has give to it. The infeed roller, outfeed roller has give, as well as the chip breaker. And then the pressure bar is going to be 1/1000th above the bottom arc of the knife. So that's the specs. The first thing I'm going to do is adjust this infeed roller. So I'll stop the camera and get set up for that, okay? Okay, now it's time to set this infeed roller. The infeed roller needs to be 1/16th of an inch below the bottom of the knife, at the bottom of the arc. So I like to use these blocks here instead of indicators. It's easier, I think. So what I did was I set some blocks up there, and I have a little scale here that's exactly 1/16th of an inch, and I'm going to put it on top there. Now I have the blocks centered, just by eye under the knife, and I'm going to move it a little bit, and let's see if we can see the knife there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rock the cutter head back and forth, and I'm going to move the table up real gradual, and I'm going to sneak up on it until that blade just barely hits the scale. So I'm going to start moving it up. Right there, I could hear it. But there's probably a little bit of spring to that scale, so I'm going to just go a little bit more. Now it just stopped it, so I'm going to back it off just a touch. Can you hear that? Okay, that's right where I want it. So I'm going to lock the table down, and I'm going to get my scale out. I can rotate the cutter head now, and I'm going to get these blocks out of there. Now I'm going to set the infeed roller to these blocks. Now I was already messing around with that infeed roller, that's why it's kind of way off. Now one thing you have to keep in mind, this roller here, the table roller, I have this lever all the way up, so that table roller is not above the surface of the table. You don't want that hitting your blocks as you're taking this across there. So now it's just a matter of setting, I'll get the light over here, of setting this infeed roller so it just touches the blocks. And you do that with, there's a bolt and a jam nut right there, and another one on that side. So I'm going to break that loose and start lowering this infeed roller from side to side until it just touches my blocks. And that means, and once that happens, it'll be a 1/16 below the knife. Okay? Okay, I want to lower those rollers, so I'm going to back this bolt out. It's a 3/8 wrench that you need for that, and a 9/16 wrench for that, for the jam nut. So then I'll take my blocks over here. Oh, that's real close. I might have to go back up a little bit. So I'm going to adjust those until the block just goes under that that infeed roller, okay? Okay, well that wasn't hard. The block just goes under there, and I went ahead and tightened down the bolt in the jam nut. Now these rollers, the sections, they're spring loaded, so I kind of, the ones that the block is going to go under, I kind of press a few times just so they're kind of relaxed where they need to go. And you can see that block just fits under there. You can hear it. Okay? Okay, now the chip breakers and the outfeed roller are set a 32nd below the cutter head. So I'm going to place my blocks back under there, and I have two feeler gauges, 1/17 and 1/14 that add to 31 thousandths, which is 32nd of an inch. So I'm going to set that on top of the block, and I'm going to raise the bed until the knives just hit those feeler gauges, and then I'm going to adjust the chip breakers and the outfeed table. Okay, so this is the same setup as when I used that ruler that was a 1/16 of an inch thick. Okay. Okay, I raised the bed up until the knives hit those feeler gauges, and now it's time to set the chip breaker. So I have the block set here, and I'm not going to have to move this at all. The blocks go under there just perfect. So if you did need to adjust that, I'm going to show you up here. These are the chip breakers. There's a bolt with a jam nut there, and again, this rests on that infeed roller, and it's just a matter of adjusting those and then tightening the jam nut. But they're good, so I don't have to adjust those. All right. Okay, one thing real quick about the chip breaker. The chip breaker's job, they're spring loaded, and they're really meant to ride on the plank as it's coming into the cutter head. And I'll show you on the illustration over here. As the cutter head rotates and the knives dig into, the surface of the wood, it starts to curl up, and the chip breaker is resting right on the piece of wood. So that's what breaks the chip, the very bottom of that chip breaker. As it's resting on your plank, it breaks that chip, and that's why you get all those little curlicues in your dust collector. So I'm at the front of the machine now, and now it's time to set this outfeed roller, which is again a 32nd of an inch under the arc of the knife. So this has to come down quite a bit, looks like. See that gap in there? So it's the same type of adjustment. I'm going to back that jam nut off and the bolt and just back that out until this outfeed roller hits the block. And this will be less vague than the first two, because the first two there's a little bit of spring that's associated with them. So this one we'll know once it's right down on there. Okay? Okay, that didn't take much to adjust. So I'm going to just show you the blocks. Just barely go in there, and when I try to lift up on the block, it won't. There's no clearance. So that's set just right. So I'm going to move the blocks aside, and I'll take I'm going to tighten this up a little. And I'll tighten up the other one, okay? Okay, I tightened down the bolts on the outfeed roller, and now we're on to the last adjustment, and probably the most critical for the performance of your planer, and that is this pressure bar up here. Let's see, where is it? It's right, the surface is right here, okay? Now, I haven't moved the table at all, and you can see that it needs to come down. We want to set this pressure bar about a thousandth above the bottom arc of the knife. So if you remember, when I set this table, I used those blocks and I used 2 feeler gauges, which equaled a 32nd of an inch, or 31 thousandths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the 14 with the 15, and I'm going to put them in between this block here, and that's going to raise it up. That's going to be 1 thou above the bottom of the knife. So I'm going to set the camera down, and instead of putting them on top, it's easier. I'm just going to put them down below here like this, and then I'm going to move this over, and you can see there's a little play there. So what I'm going to do, you'll need 2 9/16 wrenches, and I'm going to loosen these up and adjust side to side. Alright? Okay, the jam nuts are backed off, and this needs to come down. So I'm going to set the camera up here. So what you do is you loosen the bottom one up just a touch, and then you start to lower that until you creep up on it. That moved, so a little bit more. Just a touch more. So that's the process. You just back this out a little bit, and then what you're doing is you're drawing this down. And I'll do the same thing to this side until that pressure bar, the bottom surface of that pressure bar, is nice and snug on my blocks. Okay? Okay, the pressure bar is all set now. My blocks are under there, and I put my feeler gauges under there, and it's just snug on both sides. So that should be set just above the bottom arc of that cutter. And I went ahead and tightened these two up first, and then these two against each other on both sides, so it's all set. Now I wanted to talk about, I had a little problem setting this. I would set it, and then I'd move my block over here, set it, and come back over here, and then all of a sudden it was too tight, and I kept getting like false readings, and I couldn't understand what was going on until I finally figured it out. I'll take you over here and show you. This is the pressure bar right here, and that surface that actually runs over the wood, it's pretty wide. It's about 1 inch wide from here to here. It's not totally parallel to the bed, So when I was putting the feeler gauges and the blocks under it, I was putting them in the higher side and the plank's going this way. And really what I needed to do was put them right at this leading edge where the plank comes through first, because it's not exactly parallel. So it took me a while to figure that out, but then I finally got them adjusted on both sides. So it's all set now. So after all of that, as far as the pressure bar is concerned, you still need to run the piece of wood through there. Sometimes after going through all that, you run the wood through, and usually I have it set a little on the low side and the wood will hit it and stop. If that's the case, I don't even get the blocks or feeler gauges out or anything. I just back this off just a little bit and just barely bring this up just a little at a time until that plank comes through there. That's happened to me a few times, but I've never had it to where it was so sloppy that you know, the plank was getting that washboard effect where it was bouncing up and down before the outfeed roller could grab it. So everything's adjusted now. I'm going to go through, put my blocks away, blow the machine off one more time, and I'll put a little paste wax on the bed. I'm going to put the guards back on, and I'm going to run a plank through it. Okay? Okay, I'm ready to test out the planer. I have a piece of rough sawn mahogany here. This side's rough. And this side here, it looks like I ran through the joiner previously. I'm gonna run it through the joiner again to straighten this out a little bit. The ends anyway. So I have the dust collector going. On the ends, but that'll be okay. It's about 2 inches. Sometimes with planks like this, they're a little bit wider on one end. Yeah, like down here. So I'll set it for just a little over 2 and see what happens. I have to switch open this gate. It's going to start cutting down here probably. Seems to work great. Really seems nice. The end is sniping right now because of this right here. this piece through and check for snipe. There's my tape. So this is at 9/16 right now. So I'll go up to 1/2 inch. I'll take a 1/16 off of there. Snipe at all on there. A lot of times you'll get it on both ends. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to take a little bit more off. Well, I'd say she's totally adjusted now. There's no snipe at all on the ends there. It's cutting really smooth. Looks good. Okay, so that'll do it. That'll do it for the video on how to adjust a Powermatic Model 180. Okay? Okay, there's one more thing I wanna check. I'm gonna run this wide piece through. This is a scrap piece of mahogany I have here. It's almost 15 inches wide. I'm gonna run this through and then I'm gonna mic the edges and see what I get. Now this came right from a lumber mill. They planed down 4/4 to get this half. And I'm gonna mic it right now and we'll see how good it is side to side. So that looks like it's about 3 thou over a 1/2 inch there. And that's about 13. So it's a difference of 10 thou from side to side. So I have the planer set at just under a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to flip it over and raise the bed and hit it again. So I'm just going to kind of kiss both sides of this, and then we're going to see what we got, okay? Snipe at all. I'm just going to raise this up just a little bit. Still no snipe. Okay. That is 0.447. .446. Look at that. .446. So that's pretty good. Just 1 thou from side to side. That's really cut nice. Okay. So that'll do it for this video.